Right. So I interviewed Christina back in March for BET's 20s. Oh, Christina's an actress, if you're unaware. Okay. She was on BET's 20s. I interviewed her for that. And then, of course, most recently, Condola on HBO's Insecure.
Don't say that too loud because the people hate her. Okay.
I might be biased. I like Condola.
I love her so much, but the folks hate her.
Yeah, they do. They do. Especially that pregnancy storyline, as if Lawrence isn't an equal partner in that.
She did not impregnate herself.
Thank you.
She didn't. She just couldn't. She didn't do it.
So, Christina, I have to start out, like I mentioned at the top of this, today's Whitney Houston's birthday. What's your favorite Whitney song?
Oh, God, I have too many. Okay. Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh, goodness. I want to run to you. I love I'm Every Woman, but I love also the Shaka version. I just love her. I love every song. I love the national anthem. I love just her strong, sweet, soothing, smooth voice. Everything.
Yeah. I'm someone I snuck. I don't know how this is going to register to you, but I did read Robin Crawford's book, A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston.
Okay, I did not read it. Tell me.
It was part of my quarantine reading. I thought it was so well done. And I thought that it was not salacious. Like people, I think, based on the history, they were assuming that the book was going to be something that it wasn't. And I thought that it was done tasteful. And Robin laid it out, okay? Now, there are some sissy stories in there and some Bobby stories, but I felt like their friendship, and even when it was a bit ambiguous and allegedly cloudy, she detailed it out in such a tasteful, beautiful way.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
If you see that documentary, I can't remember, there were two that came out sort of back to back, and the sort of most recent one deals more with the relationship of like Robin and Whitney and how beautiful their friendship was and how just important it was to Whitney's sort of well-being and grounding as she was becoming hugely famous. And I think Bobby said if they had been able to be together or stay friends, she would still be here today. I think he even admitted that she was such a grounding presence and like a normalizing presence in Whitney's life that neither Bobby nor Sissy nor anybody else could be.
Yeah, I would have to say, taking away from that book, because Robin details out everything, even to the point where she was like fired and dismissed from the team. I believe that she was that safe haven for Whitney.
Yeah.
Because Sissy was a bit oppressive. Like in the book, you gotta read. It's such.
Okay, I was on my list now.
It's such a page turner. I was flying through it. It's good.
Because I was nervous, and I didn't actually think this from her, that she would have, that it would be salacious because of her, but that I was just nervous that it was just another one of these things where maybe it was this, or maybe we don't know. But I guess Robin would know. She was deep.
She was deep. So we're going to move on really quickly. The WAP video. What are your thoughts? Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion released a visual and their song for WAP, which is an acronym. And I forgot the other word because it's an acronym and it's also a sound, if you know what I mean.
I didn't even think of that.
It's me neither until someone on Twitter pointed it out.
That never hit me.
Until like an onomatopoeia or whatever the saying is.
That didn't hit me. I didn't feel that till just now. I am not a personal fan of the song or video, but not because of all the reasons that all these white men are not fans of it. I just, it's not my taste, but Cardi B's music has never been my taste, but I think she's extremely talented. I think I'm here for them. I'm here for all of them. It's just not my taste. So it's harder for me to look at it and be like, oh yeah, it goes in, because it's never going to be my flavor.
Gotcha.
However, I think they had every right to make it and to live and be free. I don't understand the Kylie portion.
Of the
video.
People, that had a lot of people perplexed. And there's a lot of different hot takes surrounding that. I don't understand it either, but you and I come from opposite ends of the aisles with this because I enjoy Cardi's music.
Okay, yeah.
And I enjoy Meg. Like, I'm really like, as a fellow stallion, I'm 5'9". I was here for it. But you know what I will say? The video made the song for me. Like
Yes.
if we had not gotten a visual component for the song, I probably wouldn't be feeling the song as much. I
No,
really
the
enjoyed
video
it.
and the visuals were, and like the costumes and set, it was gorgeous. And it was
Yeah.
like, I was here for all of the baps of it.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, it was never going to be like, that's my number one banger of the summer. Cause it's just never, it wasn't going
It's
to
not
be.
you, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect that. So tell me, before we jump into our conversation, I have two more, like sizzling surface questions.
Okay.
What have you been listening to? What have you been reading anything? What have you been watching through quarantine? Uh-oh. No,
On Do Not Disturb. I never know how to do this. It's on Do Not Disturb, but how do I make the people not call?
I don't know. See, and mine isn't. So we're susceptible to anything on
Okay, because I
here.
was like,
But
oh
did
my
you
God,
hear my
my daddy was
question?
calling. I heard part of it, so run it back.
I was just asking, what have you been listening to, reading, maybe
Um,
watching throughout the quarantine?
so I have been reading I should say, I have been reading physical books, but I've also just been on an audible journey, listening to books
Mm.
all the time. So I just finished listening to Queenie by Candice Wright Carty, I think. She's a British writer, and she wrote this brilliant book about a 20-something Black woman of Caribbean descent in England trying to find her way, going through a mental health breakdown, a breakup, and then also just rising out of it. And it's just so well written, and it feels so personal and so real. But it also didn't feel like precious or like or that she didn't know what was going on. Do you know what I mean? So that was really good. And then Brit, what is the child's
Brit
last name?
Bennett? Brit Bennett?
Have
The
you read The
Vanishing
Vanishing?
Half?
Ooh, have you read that?
I just finished it this past week.
Ooh, I loved it. Oh my gosh.
Wait,
Right?
let me flip my fan around.
Girl,
I love The Vanishing Half. That was a good read. That
it
was
was
a good read.
so good. And I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but it's told through generations of this family, of this mother, of a mother, her daughters, then their daughters, and what it means to be a Black woman and how you respond to that in this
And
country.
and I felt that it had, I don't want to turn this into a book discussion, but I thought it had multiple themes. There were a lot of parallels. I felt like every character had a half that was vanishing, if you know what I mean.
Everyone,
Yes.
everyone, and it was so seamlessly told from a, a mom's perspective, then her daughter's perspective, and going back and forth, and the men around them, and it's really good.
So
I think everybody's been reading it though.
there are people in the, I see Melanie's asking what book. It's The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. It's a good book. It's a novel. It's my return to reading novels because I'm not a novel
Oh,
girl.
what kind of girl
No.
are you?
I
Oh,
like memoir, autobiography. I like self-help. I like Black feminist theory. Like
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where I'm
Okay,
really at home. I'm not big on novels. I like things that I can take back out with me.
yeah.
But that was a great escape.
It was so good. Have you read any of Michael Arsenault's work?
Yeah, I've read both of his books.
Okay, good. I just picked up. I read I Can't Date Jesus, and now I'm just started I Don't Want to Die Broke.
Yeah,
So.
they're both good in my opinion, but I Can't Date Jesus is better to me.
Okay.
So,
Good to know.
all right. So, also, this is my final question before we dive into because last week I've been working from home. Those of you who follow me, you recognize this pink backdrop from everything that I've done. But
It's so cute too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I got called. I did a project on Monday and of Tuesday. I think that was last week where I was in two different studios and I had a bit of anxiety because I'm not ready for things to open back up. I mean, they took safety precautions, but it felt weird being back outside. So I have to ask you as a working actress, have you been on any sets?
No, not yet. And I've seen, you're so funny. I've seen some folks back on sets, and there were plans to have Twenties come back soon. And I think they're still evaluating those plans and figuring out what to do. But I have legit nerves about it. I'm nervous. I had to return something to a store, and I hadn't done anything like that. I've gone to grocery stores, but I hadn't gone to a regular old store. And the line was long. I was stressed. My spirit was vexed. I don't know how. And I just feel like the whole protocols and plans are to have like a whole bunch of testing and and it feels like, are they really going to have all that? Is the labs going to get these turnarounds right? I don't know.
And I did, the anxiety was like showing up in my hands. And so after that, and that's something that's never happened to me before, like
were
my
you
hands
shaking?
were locking up. Yeah, and they were shaking and locking up. But after that, I did go out. I went to an Airbnb with some friends, but we all got COVID tested prior to, and that was like the determining factor.
Yeah, I feel like that's, if we're going to live with this for however long we are, we have to learn to live with it. And so I think going with your friends somewhere, if you've all been tested, is a great way to do this. And like figuring out how to still connect and have vacations and have joy just safely. So if everybody gets tested, enjoy Palm Springs or wherever you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard. I hate it here. It's hard. It's hard.
I hate 2020. I don't like living in 2020. I'm ready to move on.
And I can deal with washing my hands incessantly. I really can. I can deal with washing my hands every 2 seconds.
If that was the way to stop, but that's not even the thing. That's like, it's in the beginning, we were all like surface, don't touch nothing. But we were just breathing each other's stanky air. And now we know. And there's no way to avoid the air. And the masks are...
That's what I can't deal with. I cannot deal with the masks. I refuse to accept that as our new normal. There has to be another way. I cannot walk around with the mask, even though I do.
Yeah, I do. Of course you do. But yeah, I mean, there is no other way. That's the other thing. There's no way. I have a face shield, and I'd be putting it on with my mask though.
Okay.
I had to go to the doctor. I was very vexed, so I got that face shield. And
I don't know about going to I know I probably need to set an appointment, but that's a place where I just feel like it's crawling in Rona.
No,
personally. It's one or the other. It's either crawling in Rona or it's super sterilized.
Exactly, but you don't know which one you're going to get.
That's the thing.
I went into a waiting room and I was pissed. They didn't have any distancing. There was babies in there. There was adult. I waited in the hallway and asked them to text me. I could not believe. I was like, how y'all just going to have people sitting up here waiting? Yeah, I was vexed. Thankfully, it's not like my normal doctor, but I was stressed.
So let's hop into our conversation.
Let's do it.
So to provide some backstory to you all, like I mentioned at the top of this hour, I've interviewed Christina twice at this point. So one time was for Marie, her character Marie, on BET's 20s. We did that on the radio for Channel Q. And then I followed up with her character of Condola on HBO's Insecure. And I interviewed her for Zora magazine, which is a digital publication under Medium that Vanessa DeLuca heads. And so, but in that conversation that we had for Zora as it pertains to Insecure, it was still kind of mid-season. And it was kind of like a story arc with Issa and Molly. And so I asked you, as just a person and also an actress on the show, we started having, I asked you a very pointed question regarding friendships. And let me see, let me pull everything up. My computer screen's, we've been talking so much, my computer screen went black.
It was like, are you done?
So I asked you, I said, so on Insecure, we're seeing this season highlight less of, my phone went black now, what the hell? But I said, on Insecure, we're seeing this season highlight less of gender wars and more of the ups and downs of friendships. Have you ever outgrown a friend, and how did you handle it? And you gave me an answer that I will not read. If you all want to read the condensed version, because I had to respect the word count, so things had to get chopped out. You can look it up. It's on your Google Schmoogle. But I wanted to talk to you about reconciliation. And you mentioned a lot of things about the parallels with how all of our relationships, including friendships, are the same. Like they require work. So do you care to share any story? Because in our conversation, you mentioned that you're like non-confrontational. And sometimes, you know, friendships have just naturally fizzled out. And that could be for the better or worse. So do you care to expound on any of that?
Sure. So yeah, I think I told you then that I haven't had, I think since high school, like a big friendship breakup. I haven't had anything where we sat down and we were like, girl, this is not happening. I'm mad at you. You did this, you did that. And we bounce. And so, yeah, I am non-confrontational in those kinds of terms, but I also think I gravitate towards friends and relationships where it's just not gonna happen like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had many a friendship just kind of disappear, um, or, or or change in such a way that they become someone who was my closest friend has become someone I know and talk to on social media, but we don't kick it like that. And I think a big part of that is life changes. And I think up until now, I can say up until like the last 5 years, or maybe even a couple of years, there's been so many sort of milestones that everyone, like when you go to college and then you come out of college and maybe you went to grad school, or maybe you moved to a different city and got a new job and then you change this. There's so many transitionings that are happening and new milestones that you're reaching, that you're moving, not even just physically, but you're moving sort of mentally and career-wise. And so along the way, some of the relationships start to fizzle and new ones are forged. So it's been less of, girl, no, this is not working, I'm never talking to you again, and more of, I had a baby and then I didn't really hear from you like that. And you didn't hear from me because I was up nursing all night. And like, there's no shade. It's
Yeah.
just bye. And because relationships, I think, like I said, just require so much nurturing. If you don't have the time, the space, energy, or even just the want to, then they go.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because when we were having this conversation, we had a lot of off the record conversation as well. And
Yeah.
I shared with you that there's been a disconnect, and I think it's strictly circumstantial, like a circumstantial disconnect between me and a lot of my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And that is because, and you were telling me a lot from the angle because you are a wife, you are a mother. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a single Sally, still, dancing to WAP, like I'm out here.
Yes.
So I'm out here, no children, no man. And that definitely, I felt, added a different dynamic. And so what I was telling you was that there has been a disconnect. I've noticed that a lot of my friends, my girlfriends, still kind of like link up.
Mm-hmm.
They do things, and I have kind of just resolved it to, fine, there's no room for me. That's how I see it. There is no
Yeah.
room for me because in reality, what the hell am I going to do? If there's a trip and you all making a family trip and you bring in, if it's your husbands and your children and you're inviting little old Shar, what am I going to do? Who am I there for? And so it's like, I respect their choice, but you said something that really stood out to me, and I kind of jotted part of it down about how important it is to not make choices for our friends, and how
Yes.
important it is to kind of like not assign feelings to our friends, because this is how I'm feeling that they're feeling,
Yeah,
but
you've
we're not
decided.
having, yeah,
You've
we're not
decided that
having
they
these
didn't want
conversations.
Shar because what would you bring to the trip? And they
Mm-hmm.
might be thinking, Shar don't want to come on our boring old trip. And like, why? I don't want to feel Shar to feel like because I have a kid that now her life has to be at the same pace as mine. And I think, yeah, I think in any relationship, the moment you start to decide what someone else feels, you're all wrong. You only know your feelings, and honestly, half the time we don't even know our own. So it's. I think that even with my non-confrontational self, I'm working on asking and acknowledging how I feel instead of deciding how you feel.
Mm.
So if it makes me sad that life is moving in a different way than a friend, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I assumed that you didn't want me to come because of this, and it's fine. You don't have room for me anymore. Go ahead, do that." I feel left out. I feel like maybe there's no room for me in this. Is that true? And because
It could be.
it could be, and then she could say, "Yeah," or she could say, "Oh no, absolutely not. I just didn't want you to come over here and feel like you needed to be involved in cleaning up this diapers and being in my daycare." Um, or it feels like I've been really connecting with old girl over here because she also has kids in this, and it doesn't mean there's no room. It means that I would love to see you actually on a night out when I don't want to talk about my kids. So if you be down for that, let me know.
Yeah, yeah. So how has like spirituality and, well, I'm going to ask that later. Have you ever
Okay.
had a situation where you have reconnected with someone in that way, where you've had an honest conversation? Because after our conversation, it did take me a few weeks But I reached out, like one of my girlfriends, her birthday is at the end of June. And instead of
Mm-hmm.
calling this year, I FaceTimed. And even though, and we didn't have a lot of time to talk because I didn't really want to dive into all of it. It's her damn birthday. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
dive into
yeah.
all of this. But you know, the kids were there and her husband was making dinner for her, and we still had, it felt like old times, just
Yeah.
modified, you know?
Yeah, and it's gonna be modified. And it it's fine that it's modified. Oh, what are you saying?
I'm reading a comment,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought, and yeah, it's gonna be different. I know I haven't had a situation in recent times where where a friend has come to me and been like, "Has there been a change?" But I have felt totally that I felt, or like I've decided for, like I shouldn't do, that a friend didn't want to hang out with me or didn't invite me anymore to play, to do things or go out because they assumed that I couldn't because I have a kid. And so I have
Mm-hmm.
told a couple of friends like, hey guys, I still really enjoy going out. So like I'm not gonna be invited to everything because some things you actually just don't want me there. That's fine. But I've made it clear to some friends that, hey, I'm out and about. My kid's 3. I could do things. He goes to bed at
Mm-hmm.
7. Let me know when you're out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that opens up space for it. Instead of making it a whole thing like, why haven't you been inviting me? I see you've been going out. I just have been like, I'm available. I only can tell you about me. Right now I'm
Mm-hmm.
available and I'd love to hang. And
Yeah.
maybe we will.
So have you ever had a moment, like harkening back to the show,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily your character, but harkening back to Issa and Molly, have you ever had a moment
Yeah.
of complete breakdown with the friend, like complete, like to the point where it's like, I'm not fooling with you, and then you were still able to somehow reconcile? Because I've had moments
Mm.
where I've had complete breakdowns with people, and even if we start talking again, I don't know if it's just my personality, but it's very hard to get back in that space with me. Like, you're a good
Yeah.
associate now, but as a friend, I just come from the school that I believe, it's weird because I believe that people are capable of change.
Yeah.
Everyone has redemptive qualities. However, it's like, I I don't want to sound like I'm emotionally immature, but if I release something, I really do release it. However, if you're capable of doing it once, you're capable of doing it again. And maybe not even in that exact same way,
Yeah.
but there's different facets that people can pull from. And now we're right back at square one.
I think that there's nothing wrong with deciding that a friendship is over. Even if there's nothing wrong that deciding that I love you, I forgive you, because I think that's key, whether you're deciding to keep the friendship or not, because you can't carry that resentment or bitterness in your own heart, especially if you're letting it go. You might as well let it all go. So I
Yeah.
love you, I forgive you, and I no longer want to have the kind of relationship we had. And I think that's fine. I also think that there's
Now, hold on. You said that clear cut, but everything's not that clear cut.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I think that is one way, if that's a possibility in your life, to say I love you, I forgive you, and bye. And then there we go. I think, but there's so many people that are friends in my life who I'm not ready to say goodbye to in that way, and who, yes, I've been hurt by you. Yes, of course you could do this again, because I could also do some craziness again too,
Mm-hmm.
and you will, because none of us are Jesus, so
Yeah.
we all will do something again.
And also people bring their own baggage to the table. I was just in conversation with this guy yesterday who went through a messy breakup, and I was having to explain to him things that he had went through in his relationship that he didn't think was a big deal were apparently a big enough deal to the girl he was dating.
Yeah.
And I had to, like, it's like he was still had such a limited perspective as to, like, well, it wasn't, like, so what? I left dishes in the sink. And I'm like, you don't know people's personal triggers. We all come to the
Yeah.
table with, our own baggage here,
And family stuff. You don't know if her mama made her clean up every dish every night, and that was the way she showed love, and the way, we don't know any of these things.
By the way, that's what Robin alleges that Sissy made Whitney do while the brothers were sitting around kicking it in the living room. Even being Whitney at the beginning of her career, when she was model Whitney, she had to come home and bust those suds.
And
And I'm like, what in
and
the
them boys
sexist
wasn't
hell?
doing nothing.
Nothing. And stealing money from her, allegedly. You got to read the book.
I need to read the book, clearly.
So,
But yeah, I think that there are also relationships where I recognize that you are a human person and you might hurt me again, but I still think this is worth trying.
Mm.
And I've had to go both ways where I had a friendship with a person in high school. I was very hurt by something that they did. They're extremely hurt. Then we went off to college and I was like, we were in high school. And we had a falling out. It was done. But once we got to college and we were coming home from college, I think it was in our senior year, I was like, we could just be friends again. It's you were a child, we're adults. And we were friends again for a while. And another terrible, hurtful thing happened that really hurt my feelings. It wasn't just something shady. It hurt my feelings. And then I was mad at me for letting you back in. And
That's it. That's it.
And the thing is, though, honestly, I don't regret it, though. Because I think I might have regretted letting it go in high school and never knowing again. Because she was my deep, deep friend. And never knowing again that we could have been friends. Now I know for sure, oh, no, we're not meant to be. Mm-hmm. And that second time made it clear. And I also learned a lesson on how to handle it as an adult. Because in high school, I'm sure I handled it in such I don't even remember what I did, but it was silly. It was weak. It was involved texting people and telling people other stuff about her. It was silly. And so this time I was able to release it. We don't kick it. We probably won't ever again. Mm-hmm. But when she got married, I told her congratulations. And I don't have any hard feelings toward her. And I think that having that experience as an adult helped me to know, like, oh no, this is not a person I want in my life. And also, I now know how to handle it in a way that doesn't also make me feel bad and me feel any more terrible than I already do.
Yes, I can relate to that. One of my childhood friends just got engaged yesterday, and it's always been weird because I'm still really cool with her family, like her cousins and like I love, like we're still on the socials and stuff. There's never been anything that she's done to me per se, but we have fundamentally grown apart. Like we don't have anything to talk about. And so, but I congratulated her, even though it's like I talk to your cousins, your aunts.
It's like your cousin, your auntie, your mom and them was my good friend. That's so funny.
So I see that we have some questions coming in. And if you all have any questions, I want you to use the question mark. It's a little icon right by where you leave your comments. Submit them there. So Ray Love Jr., who sent me in case you all missed it.
The sweetest friend.
My Shar says so much.
She's the dearest friend.
I don't want to drink from this. This is like novelty. This is going to be a collector's item.
Some flowers in it or something.
Maybe I'll auction it off in the sunset of my life. But
not the sunset.
When all is said and done,
In the sunset of my life. But low-key, I do have a pile of some things. I'm like, maybe this one day will help someone or be some charity.
Just keep working. Just keep working. So Ray wants to know, do you think that it's worth having a conversation identifying the end of a friendship so that one person isn't left confused?
I think that it is worth it. I think that it is not always possible. But I think absolutely, if that's something that can happen, and if if it's not the kind of thing where it's sort of just slowly falling apart, and you are very clear as to like, oh no, this relationship is over for me, and I don't want you to be confused as to why I don't call you or invite you to my birthday party next year. And you have that space and that energy to do that, absolutely. If you feel like you can do it in a way that is bringing respect, love, and grace, I would rather not hear from you if you were just coming to tell me off. Yeah, because no. But if you have the bandwidth to bring respectful, graceful closure to it, I think, that could be amazing. Yeah. It's just that not all of us do. And then also not all the friendships end in such a crisp, clear way where you've just made that decision today and now I know for the rest of my life.
Exactly. So that's one of the gifts that has come out of 2020 for me. My birthday is at the top of the year. My birthday is the 2nd day of January. Oh. So I'm always, my entire life, it's coincided with Happy New Year, and then I'm blessed to enter a new age. Yeah. And so, but one thing that I have been so grateful for this year, like not even joking, I'm 32, but I feel like I'm fortunate to say that everyone that I call a friend, present day, is
Mm-hmm.
really my friend.
Oh, that's beautiful.
There is no performance. There is like, it's clear cut. Like these are people that have, it works in like a great circle of
Yeah,
life, so to speak. And, I've never had that feeling in my life before. So it's new, but it's one that I'm just so grateful for. People that
that's
I
a
know I
gift.
can depend on, they can depend on me, and it just works. It just
That's
works.
great. Do you find that that circle or having is a smaller friendship circle or
Mhm.
than had been in the past?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
for sure. It is for sure. And actually, what helped was this year for my birthday, I had a dinner at Joey downtown LA, one of
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite restaurants. And they said that they were only able to accommodate 15 people. And so, because normally I have these big, or New Year's.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was coming. My sister flew in. I have two sisters.
Oh,
One of them flew
sisters.
in. Yeah, one of them flew in from New York. So now that whittles it down from 15 to 13 guests.
Yeah.
And so what I did is when I made my guest list, it forced me to really sit with who I want at my birthday dinner. And it wasn't any shade. Like some people got a
Yeah.
little, I told them, you can come, but your man can't, like your partner cannot, because I'm working with limited seating. So this can't
Yeah.
be a couples thing. So, but it really worked to my advantage. Everyone that was at that table, I still talked to, like, I remember looking around, being present in that moment, saying, these people are my friends. Like it
That's
didn't feel,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like in recent years, actually there's a few of my good friends in the chat right now. Hey guys, who I've come to like. I whenever I first moved back to LA after I finished grad school, and I longed for girlfriends. I had them in college, I had them in grad school, and now I was moving back to LA, and I yearned, and I remember having deep jealousy of like there's some girls who are my close friends now, but they were in like a girl group where they all met every month and did a different activity that one of them planned, and it was so fun. It looked and they would post about it, and it looked just I remember deeply wanting a group of girlfriends. And now years later when I look, I realized, yes, I got what I wanted. I'm so grateful, but I wanted somebody else's version of it. And I'm so grateful that I got my version. But you know what I mean? I was wanting somebody's Instagram post version of that. And I'm so glad that God gave me my version, because my version was never going to look like the girls who meet up every month, because I don't have that space in my life to plan an event every month. And it also, I need smaller, deeper, closer. As a sort of introvert, I need deeper, closer. Also, you understand, if we don't talk for a few months and then we can talk and then we go out to dinner and I see you every 3 months when we go out to eat and it's just me and you. I don't need like big group outings and all that. And I had been yearning for some other version of somebody else's life. And I'm just so glad that God did not give me that.
You know what? That is important to acknowledge. Going back to the point that you made when we were in conversation months ago, how a friendship is essentially a relationship. And I don't think people realize that, like, we may shun people, well, not shun, but scold people who do relationship goals. But sometimes that can go into friendship goals as well.
Yes, exactly. And then we're trying to have some idealized version of this that we read in Cosmo magazine, and that's just not the kind of friendship you actually even want. That's not
Mm-hmm.
even what you're actually yearning for. You just want it to look Instagrammable. And I feel like there's so much in our culture right now that it's supposed to, like, if it's a good friend, you guys are supposed to be going on trips and taking pictures at the beach, and some of your friends, some of my deepest, closest friends, it looks like you go on a walk with me and my child while I push this stroller, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
nice to connect with you. Or we talk every couple months on FaceTime and we go deep, and then I don't
Mm-hmm.
hear from you, and that is fine,
Right. It's less about the performance. It also, when you were speaking, it made me think of how self-care shows up, how self-care is so much more than bath bombs and face
Yes.
masks and like how it
Yeah.
shows, it's very nuanced. So our second question comes from Jordan Rivers. He says, how do you deal with a friendship that you want to work out, but the reciprocity is just not there? Do you let it go, or do you have a conversation?
Well, I think you have a conversation and then be willing to let it go. I think if there's not reciprocity, friendships just can't work on their own. Or you can't. I mean, you can't have a friendship where you're the only friend.
Mm-hmm.
So you can absolutely have a conversation and say, "This is what I'm hoping our friendship could look like, and this is what I'm hoping it could be." And maybe they'll respond and say, "Yeah, I would love that," and I just haven't had the time or the space, or they'll say, "That's not what I'm hoping it would be." But in a lot of cases, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, sure, that's what we're doing, right," and then you might not hear from them still. So I think absolutely you can have a conversation and then be willing to release that.
Yeah, and keep in mind, not everything, like I think communication is the root of any relationship, but not everything can be communicated, but
mm-hmm.
not having the conversation doesn't make the feeling any less valid or any less worthy. Sometimes, because sometimes naturally things like you mentioned, you said sometimes when we talked back for the interview, you said you haven't had friendships that ended in messiness. Sometimes they just faded away, and sometimes it's that simple.
And I'm not calling those people that I haven't talked to in 2 years and be like, "Girl, I just feel like there was no reciprocity." I've allowed it to fade, and it's fine. And should they come back into my life, there's space for that. Maybe.
I think what the big takeaway is that not everything, and I had to learn from this honestly, not everything is always so finite or so definitive. This is all ebbs and flows, ups and downs.
And I think that is the difference between this and a romantic relationship. I think it's harder to have that sort of dangling in a romantic relationship when you're looking for a partner out of this. Unless you're sort of, casually dating. But if you're looking for a partner out of it, it's harder to have that dangle. So some of your friendships are going to be deep where they feel like true partnership. And then some of them are going to feel like casual dating. And and the ones that casual dating and you didn't get a text back, then they're just going to go. And that's going to be fine. And then you're going to fight for the ones that felt like deep, true family. And those ones might end messier, just like relationships that felt like you was my boo-boo end messier than the guy you dated a couple times, went on a couple dates with.
It reminds me of friendships that I used to envy, because you mentioned when you came to LA how you were like yearning for girlfriends. What I think is so funny is that like my entire adolescence, I always used to say, because my friendships came in ebbs and that's what comes when you're growing up. But I used to want that. I used to call it that Oprah Gayle, that Beyonce and Kelly, like that lifelong type. But I think my Gayle and I think my Kelly, because I'm always Oprah and Beyonce. But I think my Oprah and my Gayle is actually one of my cousins. Like it's one of those things.
And mine is my sister. I talk to my sister every day of my life. And we fight and we hate each other and we love each other and we still call each other 3 times a day. So and that it's not gonna necessarily, and Oprah and Gayle didn't have that in their family, and what a blessing that you do.
And we don't know, like you said, we see what they give us.
We don't know
what these women have gone through together. We don't know if there was a time where Kelly and Beyonce didn't speak for 2 years. Like, we don't know.
We don't know. And that's their business.
It is. So, this is a question that's not really related, but
I see this.
Do you want to answer this?
No, but Lexi, you can feel free to DM me.
Okay, Lexi, we want to we want to be part of the course, honey.
Because I feel like my mind I don't know right now.
And there's some other
acting.
Okay, so let me be clear, you all. This Q&A is not necessarily about Christina's career. We're talking friendships. If you want to know acting techniques or things about roles, maybe you can reach out to her on a separate platform. But this is not the stage for that right now. With all due respect, I love you all for watching, but this is not the stage for that. So did you guys ever felt depressed and hopeless? If yes, how did you deal with it? I'll answer. So you don't have to. So I've certainly dealt with depression, and this year alone I've dealt with some depressive episodes. And how I've dealt with it is, I believe in of course outsourcing things, but like if I'm being fully transparent, I have not sought out a therapist. And the reason why I have not is I've been in therapy before, but the reason why personally Shar has not sought out a therapist is because there's something that just feels like an inherent disconnect with the virtual of it all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and therapy is like dating. I don't want to have to rehash and dig into my trauma only to find out that you're not the therapist for me. And then now I have to bounce to another one virtually to
Yes, and
see if
doing it
there's
on Zoom. Yeah.
yeah. So I have not personally sought out a therapist. However, and thankfully, I don't think things have gotten to that level. Like I could benefit from one, but I don't think things have gotten that detrimental for me. But what I have done is I've tapped into my own resources. I read a lot of books, a lot of books. I watch a lot of documentaries. There's tons of free resources out there where we, and tools where we can kind of work to reaffirm ourselves and tap into the source as to what is causing the disruption.
Yeah.
And also there are healthy distractions and healthy coping mechanisms that we can develop. You know, this is one of my coping mechanisms. I'm not working every day. Right. This is for free.
Yeah.
Every Sunday I need some regularity, you know. So that's the tip that I can offer. I hope that provided you some comfort and yeah, and that you find peace. So this next question comes from Rylick, who's actually my first guest a few weeks ago. He says, "Has quarantine redefined any of your relationships?" Whew, I'll let you take this.
Ooh. I was thinking, you and this fan. I was thinking about this actually in thinking about this, just coming on text to talk with you today about how some of our friendships dissolve or dissipate because of time and lifestyle and milestones. But I'm imagining that this quarantine is going to be changing the nature of so many of our friendships. And I think at the top of this hour, we were talking about how your friend Ray Love Jr. sent you this beautiful package. And I was saying how some of my friends, and I'm also trying to be that kind of friend, have shown up in such beautiful ways in this quarantine. And I don't think it takes a package for you to demonstrate that you're my friend, but I think that I've had such beautiful reminders of the joy and the gift of some of my really good friends, from random surprise packages or calls or meaningful texts or just a book recommendation, just ways to be connected. But there were also some friends that I am not calling because I don't want to, or it just hasn't occurred to me to call them or to make a plan for a social distance picnic, or and normally I think that some of our friendships are really contextual. I have friends who are good friends of mine, I know because we work together, or I know because I see you at church, or I know because of this, that, and the other, or you're my neighbor. And if we're not seeing each other in that context, I mean,
no,
it's not.
that all factors in. I know for myself personally, quarantine has redefined a lot of my friendship. Well, I shouldn't say redefined, because it hasn't redefined anything. If anything, it's exacerbated, it's exaggerated what was already there.
Yes.
And so, because redefining means what it says, and nothing's been redefined. So
no, it's just that we've become more aware of the definition. Like we're seeing what it was.
So some of my friendships, I for the most part, like, they've been good. Like everything's been. I haven't dealt with any like negativity, but I think that's a direct reflection of me being so intentional at the beginning of this year with who and what I wanted around me on an intimate level like that. If anything, it's brought me closer to a lot of people who I already loved and respected and adored. There have been some instances where things have gotten, because I've had some ambiguous friendships. That's the closest way for me to put it. But I learned that I had to set certain boundaries in order for me to still prosper, not only in the realms of that friendship, but just prosper just as a person, because a lot of the gray areas of certain friendships were driving me insane. I'm not joking. Like literally, because I need answers. I'm I might be feeling something. I don't know if I'm what is this? You know? So with that, I had to really get back on my stuff, and it has not been easy. And I'm not trying to paint this as if it happened overnight. This took weeks and months for me to not only be radically honest with myself, but to also set boundaries where we could still exist as friends. It
Yeah.
just, I can't accept too much gray area from this friendship.
Yeah.
So that's been my experience in quarantine. And I think, you know what, at first I was kind of like, not regretting it, but kind of like cringing at how vulnerable and transparent and honest I allowed myself to be with some of my friends where it was ambiguous in that way. But I
Yeah.
can say in full confidence on August the 9th, I am so glad in hindsight that I did that. Because had I not, when I did, I would have still been, it would have still been
Yeah.
confusion and disarray. Like now I have clear lines, and that is one of the many blessings that has come out of 2020 for me as it pertains to certain people in my life.
I love that. And also, that's what you needed for you. So
I
maybe the
did.
other person on the other side didn't need that kind of definition and was fine functioning in the gray area. And that's
Yeah.
also fine. It's fine for them to be fine with that. And then it's fine for me to say to you, oh, no, I'm going to be more
Like
vulnerable
that
and
doesn't
honest
work
and
for
open.
me.
That doesn't work for me. Yes.
Yeah. So that
Because I
is
think Ryan's saying my ass loves the gray area. Let him then live that way. But for me, as
for
for me and my house.
thank you. Know what, that deserves a bell ring. As for me and my house and the way that this brain functions, we need
Yeah.
clear definitions as to what this is, why it is the way it is, and what I'm going to tell you. We're going to go down a checklist of what does not work for me and what
And then
does.
it's also okay for me to be the only one in the relationship who's bringing that list. So I can come to you. I can't be mad at you when we enter another gray area. And I'm like, well, I need clear boundaries. No, that's on me. I need the clear boundaries. So I'm going to be here to make sure we have them. You're comfortable in the gray. Live.
Exactly. You got to do, sorry, I was looking at questions, but we have, some of the people had repeated theirs as I was saying it. And so, but we
Okay, yeah.
already covered the bases. We got about 10 minutes left, but I
Okay.
love the point that you made about that. Cause the thing is, it is okay. Like if you decide, for example, that you are someone who is like, there are friends that I've had in the past that are dysfunctional people. I call dysfunctional, and they still exist in that dysfunction
Yep.
or drama. And that works for them. Like I had
Yeah.
to reach that point where you can't fight for anyone who's not willing to fight for themselves. You can't change people. Like I feel
No.
like that's a sentiment that's floating around there, but people, it takes a lot to really sit with that and address that
You can't change them.
you cannot change
No.
anyone.
But you
So
can pray for them.
you can always do that. You can always do that.
Because God can change them. But
Yes.
you can't.
And so it's important to, like you said, I love how casually you put that. That works for you, but that does not work for me. And so in me saying that, there's a decision that needs to be made, whether I'm custom tailoring how we interact, or I decide I want nothing to do with this anymore. Like, you
Yeah,
get what I'm saying?
I
Like
do.
it's
And
not it's not as black and white. Go ahead.
I just think there's the whole idea that like there's this Instagram theology that goes around where it's like if this doesn't vibe with my energy, then you're out. Or if if it doesn't make me happy, then I'm done. And I actually highly disagree with a
Yeah.
lot of that, the notion of that, because I think that there are times in friendship and any relationship where I'm here to be of service, and there are times where I'm here to be served. There are times when then yeah, it's great that this relationship makes me happy, but there are going to be times when you're going through something and you don't make me happy, but I'm still going to love you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still going to I'm going to make sure I'm not getting hurt by you, or I'm going to protect myself, but I'm going to love you in the way that like Christ loves me, even though I'm trifling.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean I'm going to tell you all my secrets, but it does mean that I'm not just going to cut you out because you're not understanding me. And so I think what you're talking about, that like I can then, but I also can be clear with you. I can say to you, here's what I need, here's the checklist I need, but I'm still willing to love you, even if that love means I'm going to have to love you from afar. I'm still willing to support you, even if it means I'm going to have to do it from over here. But the idea of just, I'm supposed to just cut you out, let you go, you don't serve me, so bye. I just think that is such
It's immature.
It's immature, exactly, and it's some weird understanding of what relationships are, and everything in this life is not built to serve you.
Yeah, that is exactly true. But there are ways that you can custom tailor things.
Yes.
What I did want to say is that I felt so fortunate within this last week because I felt like I was coming out of a funk. So I went through, I'll call it a funk. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. It was a bit of a funk in June and July. And over the past week, I was able to say, I was able to really reciprocate what my friends had done for me in ways where I didn't always want to talk to them because I'm like, oh my God, I know that I'm a burden. Again, there you know what we were talking about,
Yep.
like, kind of like a.
I've decided I'm a burden on them.
Yes.
No one ever said that, but I feel it. So
I just feel like I'm just taking up all of your time. I feel like, and I realized that I was not giving myself the grace of humanity because of the ways that I used to operate. Because I was kind of not that Instagram girl, like that philosophy that you brought up, but I've always been a very, like, I used to pride myself on being a black and white girl. And you do that and it's over. It's done because that is how I operated. Like, I remember even, I can say this jokingly now, but growing up, I remember my parents being like in 5th grade, like, well, where's Samantha? And I'm like, I don't talk to her no more. And they'd be like, they were like, you cut off people.
That's old news. I ain't talked to Samantha in a month.
No, I don't. It's been 2 weeks. I don't fool with her. And I meant it. I meant it, even at 5th grade.
Of course you did.
I meant it. So I carried a lot of that with me, and it took for very nuanced incidents in life to happen for me to realize that there's way more to this than such a gray area. But damn it, I just forgot my talking point. You said something that I was like, ooh, that's good. That is good. That is good. Oh, what I was saying, what I struggled with is that one of my friends who had we were falling out of a friendship, right? Mm-hmm. But they hadn't done anything. And I felt weird because I felt like it was all on me. In that, I was like fully prepared to be like, oh my God, I cannot wait to end this. This is the source of a lot of mess for me. This just happened this year. This is a source of a lot of mess for me. But this person was still like, I think what messed me up is I was waiting for them to do something to justify me saying, this is,
and then you could just, then you could let it go and it'd be fine.
Yes,
whereas
but they didn't do anything,
like this.
But they didn't do anything which further complicated my feelings. Like, I hated that they were still like in the realm because I'm like, I'm ready to just, I feel like it would better serve me to just, cut this off. But I guess that goes to Riley's question because now I have been able to redefine it because they haven't done know, it's and I know that I'm speaking vaguely. I'm speaking vaguely on purpose because there's a lot of intricacies wrapped into that situation for me. Sure. And so but like you said, loving people and showing up for people, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to exist in the space where now I feel like I am good. I've been good. I've had a few days of consistent goodness
I'm glad.
And good up here. So now I can then return that love.
Yes, and that's a part
friends.
of it, that you're not always going to be the best friend that you can be. I don't know if you know about Enneagrams and stuff, but one of my Enneagram numbers is a 2, and it's like I'm a person who wants you to know I'm a good friend. Mm-hmm. I need you to know that I love you. So it can turn what is beautiful and like a loving, nurturing behavior into something that's also kind of selfish, where you're like, I'm gonna do this for you and be here for you so that I love you. You know what I mean? And so then so that I feel good. And there's just and so I'm working on in my relationships loving you even when it doesn't feel good to me, or even when I don't get the credit for it, or I don't look like. But because I think that's where I lean to like, oh no, I'm gonna be a good friend and you gonna know it.
But I do think it's important to do things, out of it. We can get wrapped up in ego in that, where things can start out like, I'm just genuinely being a good friend, but then things can get confusing where you're constantly patting yourself on the back, like, look at what I did there.
And I think that you were in a moment of where you needed to take care of some other things in your life, in your own mind, and not
Mm-hmm.
showing up as this good friend that looks like a good friend. I think that we're in a relationship. I want that kind of ebb and flow. I want it to be that actually right now I need you to show up in that way so I can take this moment and deal with my mind. And then in a couple months when I get it together, know that I will be showing up for you in that. Whereas I have had this mindset that I need to always, always, always be the good friend.
Me too.
And never take a
And
moment to be like,
that strips us of our humanity, because that's not how
yes,
humans work. And it goes into that egotistical, gotta be perfect. It treads into that type of
yes.
water.
And then it becomes I'm performing my friendship for you instead of actually being your friend. Because sometimes being your friend means I just need you to call me because I can't call right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It really does, yeah. Well, Christina, we've reached the end of the road.
Okay.
I want to thank you for, because we've been trying to have this conversation. What y'all don't know is we've been trying to have this conversation since June, but a lot happened in June.
There was a lot going on. We were like,
Yes, but I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday morning to be in conversation with me. I see that this conversation blessed a lot of folks. It blessed me. Me too, sis. Me too. I can't wait to see what's coming from you next, because I know I'll be interviewing you again in some capacity.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you again, and enjoy your day. And happy birthday, Whitney.
You too.
And thank you all for oh yeah, what were you saying?
I said happy birthday, Whitney.
Oh yes, and thank you all for watching. If you have any follow-ups, my DMs are open. Or I might go live for a second hour and let you all weigh in on our conversation. So
oh, cool. I'm gonna watch.
All right, thanks, Christina. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.